Hey man, welcome back to this channel. My name is Salvador Briggman, and on this channel we demystify the world for you so you can go out there, you can reach your full potential, you can bring a new idea or a new project or new product into the world so you can actually ethically impact the universe for the positive. And to me, this is really for people that are inventors, artists, people that are creators, people that are entrepreneurs, like a modern day Renaissance person who's really trying to bring a new idea, a new project into the world. And thankfully, a website out there like Kickstarter exists, because I would say this is actually one of the easiest times to not only get the funding that you need for a new project or idea, but also to market the heck out of it, to get tons of people around the globe knowing the look and the feel of your brand, to actually bring something and to have something just be an idea or something in your notebook to actually be a full-fledged product or project and to actually exist in the world. So in today's video, I'm gonna go through how to actually launch a campaign this year when it comes to Kickstarter, as well as some of the best practices. And this is really for you if you're trying to get this out there and maybe you've done a campaign before or you haven't, but you want to do it right this time. So let's get into it in today's YouTube video. All right, man, welcome back to this channel. My name again is Sal, and I actually got started back in 2012 in this industry, the crowdfunding industry, when I was doing a logistic regression for my econ thesis, comparing the different categories on Kickstarter and the variables that affect success. So for example, like your social media following versus your video length, those kinds of things, how they impact the success of your campaign. And what I discovered was that depending on the category which you launch in, the variables that affect success are different. So for example, in the theater or dance or those kinds of artsy categories, your social media might actually matter more in terms of your social media network versus if you're doing more of like a physical product. So I really studied that and it made it my mission over the last many years to bring this information to you, ideally for free when it comes to my videos, when it comes to my blog, when it comes to the Crowdfunding Demystified podcast, which I host, and we publish an episode every single week. I think we've done over 300 episodes at this point in time, really sharing with you what works in order to get campaigns funded. Today's video is really geared at people who are beginners or people that maybe have done a campaign, but they haven't done it right. I want to share with you how to launch a successful Kickstarter campaign. And this is the battle cry to really raise the standards when it comes to your life and your business this year. So first of all, let's start with the ingredients that you need in order to have success happen. Now, I'm a big believer that you really got to set yourself up for success. Not only do you have to get access to the right information and surround yourself with the right people, right? But you also have to have the ingredients so that success is actually possible when it comes to doing a crowdfunding campaign or other business endeavors. So what are the requirements, right, of doing a Kickstarter campaign? Well, this year, the things that you're really going to need to stand out with a Kickstarter campaign, number one are a killer, epic campaign video. Gone are the days where you could just kind of publish a rinky-dink video where maybe you're just talking to the camera and it's not very well produced. Unfortunately, it's extremely difficult nowadays to get funded when it comes to just having a very basic video. Now, I would say as an asterisk, because we get tons of people commenting in and say, Sal, here's an example of a campaign that didn't even have a video. Here's an example of a campaign that had a really low quality video or had a 10-minute video that was successful. I hear you. That's exactly why I bring on many different types of successful creators onto my podcast, the Crowdfunding Demystified podcast. And we have examples of people who got funded who didn't have a video or had a really not so great video when it comes to this. So it's not a silver bullet, but it definitely allows you to have a much better foundation in which to build upon. I would say the first one is you need to have a great video when it comes to describing the benefits of your product, the functionality. If you have a product, if you have a theater campaign or a film campaign, telling the story behind that, showing people what this is actually going to be like, who's the members of the cast, those kinds of things. The more you can visually sell people and capture their imagination with your video, the easier it's going to be to get funded. Numero dos, the second thing that you need, and I say numero dos because I'm actually adopted from El Salvador and I've been working on my Spanish a little bit. I'd say more like intermediate level at this point in time. So number two is that you got to have high quality graphics, copywriting, and that's really just a fancy word for text, but really high quality graphics on your campaign page. And here's why. Human beings are incredibly visual creatures. And unfortunately, many of us don't really like to read large blocks of text, which for me is so sad because I am a writer. I've published 10 books out there online. I've also written the book, The Kickstarter Launch Formula, which shared with you the blueprint, the paint by numbers blueprint to get a Kickstarter campaign launched. I also have a version out there on Audible as well, where I actually read this book to you with my pizzazz and my passion, my enthusiasm, right? But Unfortunately, when it comes to Kickstarter, you need to have high quality graphics. So what I mean graphical headers leading down the page, the different major items. It could be also photos of your prototype or photos of the products which you made in other people's hands in different situations, different scenarios. If you have, like, for example, you're doing a board game or a tabletop, you want to show obviously that board game or that tabletop which you've created with really professional looking imagery. In addition, the other thing I would say when it comes to this is that if you can also incorporate some GIFs into your campaign page, to me, that just like makes the page, the campaign leap off the page when it comes to that. So you got to have a nice looking campaign page. If you think about it, it's kind of almost like an accordion in that it expands your video. The video is there to get people's attention, to get them excited, to have an emotional impact with your campaign. The campaign page not only extends that experience, right, and is thematic in design, but it also hits a lot of those like logical questions which people might have. So like, what are the specifications? What is this product made out of? What are the materials? Tell me more about the design process, right? Kind of the more logical questions they might have are going to be answered in that campaign page. The third requirement which you need when it comes to launching a successful Kickstarter campaign are perks and rewards that people want to own, that they want to get their hands on, right? That they want to be able to open up their box when this is actually shipped to their house and be like, look at this is so cool. I've been waiting 3 months for this, right? Because again, campaigns are typically shipped over a longer duration, fulfilled over a longer duration. So you want to have what are called like special, unique, limited edition feeling kind of perks and rewards that people can actually back. Those might be early bird rewards or limited quantity in a certain nature or limited duration, whatever it is. You got to think of enticing rewards that people are going to want to get their hands on. Now, this varies from category to category. So for example, in the gadget or the gizmo category, it's usually that people are just kind of like pre-ordering the product, if you want to think of it that way, right? Or different variations of the product, or maybe some accessories, you can have some add-ons, all that kind of stuff when it comes to a Kickstarter campaign. If this is more in the creative genre, it could be, for example, a movie poster, or it could be plush toys, or it could be in some way incorporating the story into their natural life, right? So there are many different categories, gaming, available on Kickstarter, but you got to go and you got to study that category and take a look at some of the other successful campaigns and some of the rewards which they offer. So that would be my next tip when it comes to the ingredients for success. The next two quick ones I want to mention before we get into the nuts and bolts of launching this and actually getting that funding would be, you got to obviously have a funding goal and a funding duration. Now, I know that sounds so basic. If you've read my book, The Kickstarter Launch Formula, you'd be probably like snoring or you're falling asleep. You're like, oh my gosh, Sal, right? How can you just be talking about the funding goal and the funding duration? Well, I will tell you that the vast majority of coaching calls that I do with clients and also the students that I'm working with on a continual basis, typically they have a lot of anxiety around setting that correct goal because again, there's a scientific process behind setting your Kickstarter goal. And that's because if you look at some of the major campaigns, maybe they have a goal that's like 25K, but they ended up raising more like 500K, right? So the goal is not just about your project, there's also a marketing strategy behind setting your funding goal. So that way you can actually trigger the Kickstarter algorithm, you can hit the velocity of funding, it can actually start ranking higher and higher in the charts, and it can be really, really exciting. So you want to make sure you think about the right goal and also the funding duration. Now again, I have people who've been maybe thinking about doing a product or doing something online, maybe this is their first time, and they're like, Sal, I want to keep this open as long as possible. I want people to be able to check this out for the maximum duration, which is 60 days. So that way I can rack up as many pledges as I want to throughout that time span. Now, in theory, that's a great idea, right? But unfortunately, the world doesn't work really in theory. That's one of the things I didn't really like about school, why I try to keep my learning fun and interesting, whether it's my books or my courses, my programs. I have a free course out there on Kickstarter as well that shares with you the tactics and the strategies to get funded, as well as the resources which can speed up the process. That link is crowdcrux.com/Kickstarter, which you can check out down below. But that being said, when it comes to doing this, there's a massive or major impetus behind people actually funding your project. And I can sum it up in one word for you, my friend, and that is urgency, okay? Urgency. Think back to the last time when you were kind of putting something off, and then you finally got around to doing it. Typically, there's a certain element of urgency. Back in my university days when I was going to school at George Washington University in Washington, D.C., I would wait until the night before a paper is due in order to actually write that paper. Typically, unless we feel a sense of urgency within us to do something, there really isn't that impetus or that emotional push to actually get something done. So you want to kind of have a happy medium when it comes to having a funding duration that encourages urgency, but also one where it gives you a length of time to actually continue to market and promote your campaign. So 25 to 35 days is kind of of the median, right, when it comes to setting a funding duration. Want to take all the stress out of fulfilling your Kickstarter rewards? Fulfillrite is the turnkey solution that puts product delivery on autopilot. The Top Campaigns uses trusted high-tech provider to store, package, and ship their products. Focus on growing your business. Leave shipping to the experts. Don't wait. Get a custom quote from Fulfillrite today. Link in the description. All right, so we got some of the basics out of the way, but really for those of you that are looking to go big with a campaign, if you're really looking to make this a pivotal moment in your life, in your career, this isn't just another small campaign. This is really going to show you what's possible, whether that's starting a new business, quitting your 9-to-5 job, scaling this up so one day you can hire other people, or even having a career shifting trajectory move where maybe you're doing one thing and you want to do tabletop games now, right? Or you're doing one thing and now you want to produce new products. So this is a huge moment, and if you get it right, it can have huge ripple effects or profound ripple effects when it comes to your life. The first thing I'm going to mention is that, again, there's a scientific process behind launching a Kickstarter campaign. I have been saying this for years, and I've been trying to demonstrate this to you on this channel. I'd say one of the biggest areas that I continue to see difficulty or struggling with is this idea of launching. So launching is not just going live with your Kickstarter campaign and having people check you out on Kickstarter. It used to work that way back in the day, but eventually things start to change a tiny bit. When I say launching, what I typically mean is having a process, what's called a pre-launch process. We are getting people excited, warming them up, getting them having so much anticipation. It's like a new event is coming, similar to like an Apple product announcement, or if you think about like a new sneaker brand, you really have people like lining out the door, right? You ever seen one of those like new sneakers that are announced? I love sneakers, right? People are just lining out the door, waiting to get into that store, right? You want to have a launch process where you have your own little line of people that are excited to get in on the ground floor of this Kickstarter campaign and get access to those really cool early bird perks and rewards. If you can do this pre-launch process correctly, you can get a massive rush of funding when you go live with your campaign. And in that way, you can really set up the foundation right for your project and have people on the actual Kickstarter platform checking this out, random strangers who you've never met before, funding your campaign just like that. So that's my first tip, is to really think about the launch process differently, not just about going live, but really about everything that you're doing in anticipation leading up to that launch announcement. The second thing that I want to talk about is that you gotta have a digital marketing strategy. Now, I will tell you this just between you and me, man. I'm not a big fan of social media. I'm not a big fan of taking those selfies and doing Snapchats or doing Instagrams or doing Facebooks. I'm really not big onto social media in my own personal life, even though I love making YouTube videos just like this. However, if you're a business owner and you're not using social media, you're just saying no to free money. You're just saying no to free traffic. So you need to have a digital marketing strategy when it comes to promoting and marketing your campaign when you go live. And here's why. It's great. You can be launching into this marketplace. You can have tons of strangers that are backing this. The goal is that once you go live, that you maintain your funding momentum for as long as possible so you can continue to trend in the algorithm. And the more that you can add some fuel to that fire with those ingredients which you've already created, right? The more that you can continue to rack in and rake in funding. It's kind of like I was watching Fast and the Furious the other day, and there's like so many Fast and the Furious movies right nowadays. And I love cars. Like I'm a huge car guy. When it comes to this, you think about, you can have a car and you can be so streamlined, kind of a great engine, but all of a sudden you have that like injection of NOS, that injection of like, putting this on light speed, right? Or supercharging the actual speed at which this car is going. You want to think of it in the same way when it comes to Kickstarter, which is, it's great to have a great project and to be on the platform and to be ranking, but you want to continue that momentum. So if you have your own marketing and promotional strategy and you're executing on that every step of the way, you can be far more successful in the long run when it comes to your Kickstarter campaign. So you might be like, Sal, that's incredible, that's great, but like, how do I actually go about doing that? Like, how do I actually market and promote this? Oh, I hate actually having to do this, right? Well, first of all, I say that you have an ethical duty to do this. If you believe in your product, you have an ethical duty to promote the heck out of it, because other people are, and they don't have as great of a product, or it's made out of just really low quality resources and materials, right? So if you're actually building something that's built to last, you owe it to yourself and to your brand and to the consumers, the people that are backing this, to promote the heck out of it, right? So whether that's joining different communities out there online when it comes to like Facebook groups or Reddit or different social bookmarking websites, whether that comes to building your own email list, whether it comes to doing paid ads, you gotta really study this and become a student of crowdfunding. And I have a lot of free videos out there on my YouTube channel, which you can check out, that share with you exactly how to market and promote this. Or if you just you want to have your hand held throughout this process, join my free course down below at crowdcrux.com/Kickstarter, and I can warm you up to all these different marketing strategies which you can use in order to get funding. The next tip that I want to talk about when it comes to being successful this year with crowdfunding is that you really need to use the functionality that Kickstarter is building out. Back in the day, it was so difficult to do things like Kickstarter updates. So why not plan a Kickstarter update, which you can do with their new editor and new interface to make backers excited and want to spread the word about your project and maybe even reach some stretch goals which you have. So there are so many different ways in which you can continue to maintain momentum and to actually have much higher order value, right, when it comes to your Kickstarter backer. So for example, when it comes to add-ons, you can think about what are some accessories or other things that I could offer so when people come to the page and they check out, I can also get them having an add-on, and in that way they increase the overall order value, and they're actually, as a valued backer, pledging you much more than they would if you didn't have any add-ons. I know that it is quite challenging to manage the logistics of all of this, right? But if you really think about this, you're doing much more than just very simply, very quickly launching a project into the world. What you're doing is you're really building the foundation to that next step forward in your life and in your business. So the more that you can think critically about how do I make this experience, this intensive 30-day experience, almost like a business boot camp, right? How do I make this experience have the maximum ROI for me when it comes to the branding, the marketing, and the funding? I'm really thinking about those rewards, the perks, stretch goals, events, news events which I can plan, right, to announce to my audience. The more that you can do that, it's scientifically engineering the launch process. I want to share one other thing with you, and that's because I've been covering this on my podcast, and I don't think a lot of people know this, but there's actually been one tactic or one strategy which has been just seeing crazy levels of success on Kickstarter, and I want to talk about it with you. So you have a couple of more minutes, I would love to get to it, and if you do think I've been doing a good job on this video sharing some educational tactics, tips, advice, resources, etc., give me a thumbs up on this video so that I know, leave a positive comment down below, and of course, come subscribe to this channel. All right, so you might be like, what does Sal have in store for us when it comes to this final technique that he wants to share? And this is really, I think, vital for people out there that want to have a big launch. And not only that, but you want to be able to brand this product correctly, and you want to reach massive audiences. This is something that I've been seeing working more and more successfully on Kickstarter campaigns, and if you don't use this, it's okay. But again, it's like pouring gasoline on the fire. What I'm talking about is partnering with influencers and having a PR or a media strategy beyond what you're doing with your campaign. So accessing different audiences, if you will. If you can partner with an influencer or launch this campaign with an Instagram influencer, a YouTuber, or other form of influencer, you can have dramatically higher levels of success. For example, Peter McKinnon partnering on a Kickstarter launch when it comes to camera gear, right? There's so many other examples in my podcast showing how if you partner with influencers, or if you gain access to a community of people, or you get into a PR or media publication or a news publication, right? Or have an Instagrammer share your campaign on their behalf, or a TikToker, you can see a ton of traffic and a river of funding through your campaign. And the reason why is you're getting access to a whole new audience, but you're also getting social proof, right? You're getting their credibility when they share it on your behalf. If you want to learn more about like PR specifically, I do have a free course out there on PR as it applies to crowdfunding campaigns, which you can check out at crowdcrux.com/PR, and I'll try to include that link down below if I remember to. So let's end this video with the battle cry, which is that this is the year to do it, my friend. It is easier than ever to set up a website, to set up social media accounts, to promote your campaign, to set up a Kickstarter project, right? It is easier than ever to reach people worldwide, even if you wanted to with an advertising campaign. It is easier than ever to do video, right? To put a video out there that is high quality. This is the easiest time in the history of humanity to get a new invention into other people's hands. Think about it. Back in our ancestors' days, back in the Stone Age, if they had an invention, they'd have to make so many copies of this and have to go out there and have to tell everyone about it. It was so hard to get traction with a business or a new idea or a new product, even 20 years ago. This is the most fertile time to get your idea out there, to get it funded, to get a new invention into the marketplace, to build a business from scratch. And you can do this overnight, and it's only getting faster, right? Because of social media, because of the way that we are so connected nowadays when it comes to the internet, when it comes to scaling up an ad campaign. It is so easy nowadays to get something out there. Make this the year that you finally push through and you take some action. Make this the year that you decide to get launched. Make this the year where you actually are stepping up to fulfill your duty to ethically impact the world for the positive in the face of so many other rinky-dink low quality products that are out there. First of all, if you are committed to that vision of success for yourself and for your project and reaching your full potential, come subscribe to this YouTube channel because I'm putting out videos every single week on this channel this year. Thank you so much for watching. And in addition, if you really want to go to the next level, if you want to go from point A to point B faster, and you want to have a guide with you along when it comes to this process, if you really want to understand the ins and outs of getting a Kickstarter campaign launched, a crowdfunding campaign funded, and what's more, you want to gain access to more resources and tools that you don't know about, maybe you want to get introduced to other people in the industry, and you want an expert's eye to assess this project, this idea, the marketing strategy, and also help you with that process, you can go down below, you can check out my individual coaching call option. So you can actually book an individual coaching call with me, with Sal, at the link down below at crowdcrux.com/coaching. Maybe you've been thinking about this and really finally investing in your business or yourself. This is the time to do it if you're serious about this, because it's going to speed up the process. You got to get access to the right people, and I try to provide that for free when it comes to my podcast and also some of the content I'm putting out there on my blog. But if you really want to dive into this massive archive when it comes to all the strategies and techniques that I know that work for many different categories out there, whether you're in the idea stage, the prototype stage, or you're going to be launching in 2 weeks from now, go and check out the coaching call option down below at crowdcrux.com/coaching. Fill out that form. Tell me a little bit about you. Let me get to know you, man. Tell me where how you've been thinking about this. Tell me where you got the idea or the inspiration. I would love to learn more about your project. But if not, you can also go to my website, crowdcrux.com, and you can shoot me a website there. You can go and check out some of my other podcasts and my blogs and all the stuff that I'm putting out on a regular basis to help people like you, putting out free information. So that way, again, you can dominate your niche. Thank you so much. My name is Salvador Briggman, and I will see you next time.